All right, we're going to spend a few minutes just showing you how to import your data now that you've already exported to your Google Drive, and then how to bring it into a spreadsheet, how to plot your graph, and how to do your thing with that. The folder that I've saved my data in last night when I completed this lab was constant velocity lab prep stuff. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to find my data here. Right here it says export it data .csv. So what I'm going to do now is right-click this, right-click export it data.csv. Right-click for you guys on a Chromebook is just 2 fingers, right? Tap it with 2 fingers. And then you're going to see an option that says open with. And then you should, when you see that, see open with Google Sheets. Does that make sense? You guys see that? So it's right-click. Whenever I say right-click, okay, that's right-click on a PC. That's on a Mac or on a Chromebook. It's just 2 fingers tap. It's the same thing as right-click. So click on it, then right-click, open with, and then you're going to click Google Sheets, and you should be good to go there. Now you're going to see your data come up in Google Sheets, and you're going to see way more data than you actually want to use. Each of you, when you looked at your graph on your phone, should have noticed the rough interval that you wanted to use for your graph, between 2 and 4 seconds, between 3 and 4 seconds, between 4 and 5 seconds, whatever the case may be. Notice though, before we deal with the actual plotting of the graph, notice that I've got 4 pieces of data in here: time, position, velocity, acceleration. I'm actually going to highlight the top 2 columns, right-click or 2-finger click, and then delete those columns because I don't want velocity and acceleration there. I'm going to tidy it up a little bit by doing that. Now, I don't remember last night when I did this what data I wanted to keep and what data I wanted to delete. So if you find yourself in the same position as I am, and that is that you're not sure which data you want to keep and delete, let's plot a graph of the whole thing, and then we'll kind of see what we want to delete. So let's highlight all my data. Notice, guys, when I highlight my data, I'm not highlighting the column headings. I'm not highlighting the words time and position. I'm just highlighting the actual data. I'm going to scroll down, highlight all of my data here. And when I go to plot that graph, I'm going to see that I have a bunch of data that I don't want. That's okay. I'll deal with that in a moment here. My data keeps going and going and going, just like the Energizer Bunny does. I know I'm in bad data here now because I had a bunch of zeros there. That's okay. Okay, there we go. So I've got all my data highlighted. Now I'm going to click Insert. I'm going to click Chart. Now it's going to give me a chart that kind of looks like this, which is not what I want. Okay, on the right-hand side, it's going to tell you have a line chart. I don't want a line chart. Okay, I want a scatter plot. So I'm going to click on where it says line chart, and then scroll down here to where it says scatter plot. Now, that pretty much looks like a line. The reason that looks like a line is because I've got so many data points that all the data points are kind of crammed together. That's okay. Don't worry about that right now. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that chart editor and see my chart there. I can see that I got a bunch of data that I don't actually want. Looks like if I go between, let's say, 5 and 6 seconds, it looks like I'm going to be fine, right? So I'm going to delete all my data other than between 5 and 6 seconds. Let's move this up to the top. Kind of a pain to move it up there, but I'm going to move it up to the top so that when I start deleting data, I'm going to still have it. Okay, so now I'm going to delete this data. What did I say, 5 and 6 seconds I was going to keep? So what I want to do is highlight all of these rows up to 5 seconds. Up to 5 seconds. I'm going to right-click or 2-finger click, and I want to delete all of those rows. So now my first row starts at 5 seconds. And then I said I wanted to delete everything after about 6 seconds. So let's highlight these rows after 6 seconds. Bless you. After 6 seconds, highlight all these rows. Let's right-click them or two-finger click them and delete them. Now they're gone. There's my graph. And now you can see my graph looks a lot better, right? I can see my individual data points. You can see that it's still a really good straight line. They're not perfect, but it's still a really good straight line, which shows me that it's a constant velocity. You can see the title is automatic, position versus time. You can see that my axes are labeled already, position versus time. Now what I got to do is draw a line of best fit for this, a line of best fit which approximates a straight line. So I'm going to double click this graph. Double clicked it, looks like this. Remember, scatter chart at the top. Customize it. And then I'm going to click where it says series. Click series. If I scroll down here, I'm going to add a trend line. I want to change the color of that trend line because I don't want it the same color as my data points. I'm going to change it to red. I can make it darker, but I don't have to. It depends on whether you can see it or not. If I want to make it darker, I change the opacity to 90 or 100%. I can make it thicker if I want by making it 4px as opposed to 2px or whatever the case may be. That's completely optional, whatever works for you. If I get rid of that, you can see that I've got my graph with my line of best fit, with all my data points, everything's labeled well, and so on. The only thing I got to do now is determine what the actual velocity of this is. The way I'm going to do that is to once again double-click this graph, customize, series, it's always customize, series, and then down here under trend line, you see type, says linear. Line opacity, I made it 100% because I wanted mine brighter. Right below that, you see label none. Your label, you want to say use equation. When we click use equation, you're going to see that on the graph now, the equation appears. Y is equal to mx plus b, right? Remember that equation from math class, y equals mx plus b? M is your slope, which is your velocity. So I'm saying on this graph, y is equal to mx plus b. B would be negative 0.151, so that would be my y-intercept here. Okay, that's okay, because all I want here is my slope, which is 0.19. 0.19. That's my velocity. My conclusion would be the velocity of this toy car is 0.19 meters per second. This is known because the slope of a graph, of a position time graph, is 0.19 meters per second.